Hello there, you're watching Nightline. I'm Anita Wu. News making the headlines. Malaysia to make claim over 1 MDB assets in the United States. And train catches fire, killing more than 70. We begin with our headlining story. Malaysia will ask the United States to hand over the $1 billion in assets it has recovered from fugitive financier Low Tech Joe, or Joe Low. Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad said the government has proof that the assets were bought with Malaysian money.
The asset was bought with Malaysian money. We have proof that it is Malaysian money. We will now make a claim to the American government.
Tun Dr. Mahathir was speaking to reporters after visiting the Customs, Immigration and Quarantine Complex at the Sultan Iskandar building in Johor Bahru on Thursday. The US Justice Department on Wednesday struck a deal with Joe Low to recoup funds allegedly looted from 1MDB in a record capture for a US anti-corruption probe. Reports said the deal, if approved by a federal judge, would help resolve forfeiture cases tied to Joe Low, who prosecutors say orchestrated the theft of more than $4 billion from 1MDB that ended up paying for a private jet, a super yacht, mansions, diamonds, and even Hollywood movie productions. The agreement does not include an admission of guilt or wrongdoing, and it was unclear whether it affects the criminal charges against Joe Low in the US. Rapid transit system project linking Johor Bahru and Singapore will go ahead after the projected cost was reduced by 36%, ending months of uncertainty over the delayed project. Tun Dr. Mahathir said the cost has gone down from 4.93 billion ringgit to 3.16 billion ringgit.
We will build the train to connect with the LRT. That has already been decided. We will go ahead with that project, and that project will mean that we will solve a little bit the problem of kesesakan lalu lintas.
The new RTS project would involve changes to the project structure, scope and specifications. An important feature of the revised project structure of the RTS link is the involvement of the developer or owner of the Bukit Chaga land to fund and enable the project with the land cost waived. Coupled with optimised costs in construction and rail systems, the government would achieve substantial savings, hence making the project more financially viable. The project is targeted for completion by 2024. A committee will be formed under the Women, Family and Community Development Ministry, KPWKM, to discuss the best approach to address issues on domestic violence through engagement with stakeholders. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Wan Azizah Wan Ismail said the committee would also serve as a monitoring platform between government agencies and non-governmental organisations in efforts to address the problem.
Jawatankuasa ini berfungsi untuk mengenal pasti isu dan masalah serta membincangkan kaedah penyelarasan yang terbaik dan sustainable dengan izin dalam menangani isu berkaitan keganasan rumah tangga yang dibangkitkan melalui libat urus dengan pihak-pihak yang berkepentingan. Selain itu, jawatankuasa ini merupakan pemudah cara dan perantara bagi memastikan perundangan berkaitan keganasan rumah tangga termasuk Akta Keganasan Rumah Tangga 1994, Akta 521, Prosedur Operasi Standard, agensi kerajaan serta garis panduan berkaitan keganasan rumah tangga dilaksanakan dengan baik dan berkesan.
She said this when winding up the debate on the Supply Bill 2020 at the Dewan Rakyat on Thursday.
On cyber security dengan izin yang betul. Jadi kalau wanita-wanita ini boleh.
Malaysia has only been included on a watch list for US dollar manipulators and not been labelled as a manipulator of the currency. According to Finance Minister Lim Guan Eng, the prospect of Malaysia being labelled a US dollar manipulator was low, as the country needed to fulfill 3 criteria set by the US Treasury in this regard. Lim said Malaysia does not fulfill one of those three criteria, namely the amount of net foreign currency purchased by the central bank to be at least 2% of the gross domestic product, GDP.
Bila kita memenuhi dua daripada tiga kriteria, itu telah dianggap bahawa harus dimasukkan dalam watchlist currency manipulation. Dan kemasukan Malaysia dalam currency manipulation watchlist pada bulan Mei 2019 adalah hasil daripada pelarasan penyesuaian semula secara mekanikal terhadap kriteria akaun semasa daripada 3% kepada 2% daripada KDNK oleh Jabatan Perbendaharaan Amerika Syarikat.
Lim said this in reply to a question from Buletin MP, Datuk Sri Ronald Kiandi, in the Dewan Rakyat on Thursday. The question was over a Bloomberg report on the possibility of Malaysia being included again in the list of US dollar manipulator countries and its impact on the economy. He said Malaysia will not be labelled a currency manipulator, as the country always abides by all regulations set by the World Trade Organization or any other international standard. The Education Ministry will be recruiting 21,656 temporary teachers to help resolve the shortage of teachers in the country. Its Deputy Minister, Teo Ni Cheng, said the recruitment exercise would involve an allocation of 48 million ringgit, which is higher than the 40 million ringgit spent last year.
Tetapi kita masih menghadapi masalah kekurangan guru, iaitu kerana ada mismatch di antara kekosongan yang sedia ada berbanding dengan keluaran daripada IPGM setiap tahun. Kalau saya boleh membagi contoh, seperti sekarang kalau di sekolah kebangsaan, keperluan yang kita ataupun kekosongan yang kita sedia ada melebihi 6,000. Tetapi keluaran daripada IPGM hanyalah 1,676 yang akan ditempatkan di sekolah dalam bulan November yang akan datang ini. Jadi untuk
Speaking at the Dewan Rakyat, she said the Education Ministry will start training temporary teachers in February next year. The ministry is targeting to train 3,000 teachers for primary schools and another 800 for SJKCs. She added that the government is prepared to allocate more funds to hire temporary teachers if the need arises. The Foreign Ministry has begun to gather information to realise the government's decision to open a Malaysian diplomatic representative office accredited to Palestine in Amman, Jordan. Its Minister, Datuk Saifuddin Abdullah, said his ministry is currently working together with its counterpart in Jordan to identify the processes towards this effort.
Kita sedang bekerjasama, berbincang dengan pihak Jordan bagi mengenal pasti apakah proses yang perlu dilalui. Kita sedang mengenal pasti pejabat untuk dibuka kedutaan. Sebagaimana kita sedia maklum, memang kita ada kedutaan Malaysia di Jordan, di Amman, tetapi ini adalah kedutaan untuk Palestin, walaupun bermastautinnya di Amman, Jordan.
Datuk Saifuddin was asked to share further details on the plan, including how long the embassy would open and operate for. Past lawmaker Datuk Ibrahim Man called on other MPs to stand in support of the move, with the majority of the members present at the Assembly expressing their support. The government has no plans as of now to implement the end-of-life vehicle ELV policy under the revised National Automotive Policy NAP, as it is not applicable in Malaysia. According to Deputy International Trade and Industry Minister Ong Kian Ming, the government would also improve the roadworthiness so that old vehicles could be safely driven and would not endanger other road users.
Dalam NAP Review 2019, tidak ada apa-apa polisi yang akan dibentangkan untuk end-of-life vehicle yang disebut tadi oleh Yang Berhormat Iskandar Puteri. Oleh kerana suasana di Malaysia tidak begitu sesuai untuk memperkenalkan polisi end-of-life ini, oleh kerana ada tempat saya rasa yang boleh dikatakan adalah luar bandar di Sabah, Sarawak dan juga di negeri-negeri lain di mana masih perlu kereta yang lama, yang misalnya lebih daripada 10 tahun.
He was replying to a question from Lim Guan Eng, who wanted to know if the revised NAP would affect the policy on the lifespan of the vehicle. Ong also said the current status of the review of the NAP was in its final stage and is expected to be presented to the Cabinet soon. The review exercise of the NAP has been ongoing since February 2018, aimed at enhancing the existing NAP by introducing new technology elements such as next-generation vehicle and the fourth industrial revolution, as well as the new mobility-as-a-service sector. The Housing and Local Government Ministry is studying a proposal to set up a staffing committee for the Fire and Rescue Department. Its Minister Zuraida Kamarudin said the committee will act as an independent body to appoint, restructure the staffing and absorb part-time firemen as full-time staff of the department.
Tapi kerja anggota bomba sekarang telah diperkembangkan sebagai seolah-olah sebuah satu social rescue team. Yang mana kita lihat isu-isu seperti ular masuk rumah panggil bomba, orang tersepit dekat lift panggil bomba, kucing panjat pokok tak boleh turun panggil bomba, cincin jari tak boleh keluar panggil bomba, monyet bergaduh panggil bomba. So jadi ini adalah memang ini terjadi. So jadi bomba ni bila orang ada call aja dia akan pergi, sentiasa sedia berkhidmat.
Zuraida was responding to a question by Segamat MP Datuk Seri Dr. Santara in the Dewan Rakyat on Thursday. She said the ministry would continue to ensure that the welfare, safety and health aspects of firemen were maintained and protected. This will be done by reviewing other requirements, including special task force allowance and incentive payment for staff working on shifts. Participants of the Malaysia My Second Home or MM2H program and locals with foreign driving licences can convert their licences to a Malaysian driving licence beginning Friday. Road Transport Department JPJ Director General Datuk Seri Shahrudin Khalid said the conversion would only be granted to individuals who have valid driving licences from their country of origin.
Dan lesen yang dikeluarkan secara conversion ni bersifat fee percubaan. Bukan percubaan pun sama dengan lesen penuh memang penuh. Tetapi kita hendakkan ada penghayatan kepada undang-undang di negara ini. So macam rakyat kita jugalah. Once you ada dapat lesen, kita tak bagi terus lesen penuh, lesen tu. Tetapi kita akan labelkan dengan P untuk tempoh 2 tahun.
Shahrudin said the conversion application process could only be done at the JPJ headquarters and state-level JPJ offices. He further added that for those with driving licences from countries who are not signatories to any treaty or agreement with Malaysia had to attend classes and sit for traffic laws theory test. This is to ensure that they understand the laws and road regulations in Malaysia, which may differ from other countries. Meanwhile, those MM2H participants who are no longer in the programme or have breached any of its terms will have their licences revoked, he said. Health Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad said Putrajaya is ending the concession of local drug company Pharmaniaga to distribute drugs and medical supplies to public hospitals. He said the ministry will do away with concessionaires for logistics and distribution of medical supplies. Datuk Seri Dr. Zulkifli said this to reporters after launching the Systemised Nomenclature of Medicine Clinical Terms SNOMED CT conference and exposition in Kuala Lumpur on Thursday. The ministry, he said, would introduce an open tender system. However, Datuk Seri Dr. Zulkifli added to ensure that medical supplies and health services are not disrupted, Pharmaniaga's services will be extended until the Cabinet decides on the mechanism to manage the open tender. Next on Nightline, 2 women sent to the gallows over drug trafficking. Don't go away. Welcome back. 10 people, including 2 assemblymen, were brought to the Sessions Court again on Thursday to face additional charges relating to the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam LTTE terrorist group. 2 other men were also charged on the same day, taking the total number of individuals charged to 12. All of the accused, who were indicted separately in 3 different Sessions Courts across several states, claimed trial to their charges. The 4 accused, including Gadik Assemblyman G. Saminathan, pleaded not guilty when they were charged before Judge Rosina Ayub. They were alleged to have pledged their support to LTTE by using their respective social media platforms, Facebook and YouTube, on March 17, 2014. Another 5, including Malacca Green Technology Incorporated CEO S. Chandru, were charged before Judge Azman Ahmad with committing the same offence between October 5th and October 11th. Whereas Seremban Jaya Assemblyman P. Gunasekaran and 2 DAP members were charged with supporting LTTE via their Facebook accounts. The prosecution did not offer bail as offences under the Security Offences Special Measures Act, or SOSMA, were non-bailable. However, lawyer Ramkarpal Singh submitted that the arrests under SOSMA were unconstitutional and asked for the issue of bail be referred to the High Court. The courts would decide on Friday whether to offer bail. Two women have been sentenced to death by the Pulau Pinang High Court on Thursday for drug trafficking 3 years ago. Judge Dato Akhtar Tahir ordered the 2 friends, Zawani Zulkifli, aged 33, and Nur Zahira Yusof, 32, to be sent to the gallows after finding the defence had failed to raise reasonable doubts against the prosecution's case. The 2 women were jointly charged with trafficking in 212.7 grams of heroin and 82.2 grams of monoacetyl morphine at Parkview Tower in Jalan Harbour Place off Jalan Assumption, Seberang Perai Utara at 4:45 p.m. on December 18, 2016. They were charged under Section 39B of the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952, which carries the mandatory death penalty upon conviction. The 2 women broke down in tears when the judge handed down the sentence. Deputy Public Prosecutor Yasin Nisa Begum Sini Moedin prosecuted, while lawyers V. Parthipan and Simon Murali represented Zawani and Nur Zahira respectively. Coming up after this break, the Philippines hit by 3rd deadly quake. Do stay tuned. We're back onto the foreign front. In Pakistan, at least 73 people have died after a train travelling through the Punjab province caught fire, trapping many on board. Officials say the train was approaching the town of Liaquatpur in Punjab when the fire on the Karachi to Rawalpindi service, one of Pakistan's busiest and most popular trains, broke out. The blaze started with the explosion of a cooking gas cylinder and quickly spread across at least 3 carriages. Officials said the death toll was likely to rise further, with at least 40 more people injured and many in critical condition. Some bodies were so badly burned that DNA analysis will be needed to identify the victims. Many were also killed when they were trying to jump off the burning, speeding train. It is believed that the fire was caused by some passengers who had been trying to make breakfast on a gas stove while the train was moving, a breach of regulations. A powerful earthquake struck central Mindanao in the southern Philippines on Thursday, killing at least 5 people and seriously damaging buildings already rattled by 2 previous deadly tremors. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the 6.5 magnitude quake hit the island of Mindanao, causing locals to run to safety in the same area where a strong tremor killed 8 people on Tuesday. It said Thursday's quake could be considered an aftershock following the deadly 6.6 magnitude quake that jolted central Mindanao on October 29th, which left more than 300 others injured. The powerful shaking also caused serious damage to a condominium building in the major southern city of Davao, which was about 45 kilometers from the epicenter. At least 8 people were hurt in the building, and rescuers had launched a search to determine if residents might still be trapped inside. In another development, North Korea has fired 2 unidentified projectiles into the Sea of Japan in an apparent resumption of weapons tests aimed at ramping up pressure on Washington over a stalemate in nuclear negotiations. It is unclear what exactly was launched, but South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said the military is maintaining its readiness by monitoring relevant movements in preparation for further launches. It said the weapons were fired from an area near the North Korean capital of Pyongyang and flew about 370 kilometers across the country at a height of up to 90 kilometers before landing off its eastern coast. If confirmed as a missile test, it would be the first by Pyongyang in nearly a month and the 12th since May. The launches followed statements of displeasure by top North Korean officials over the slow pace of nuclear negotiations with the United States and demands that the Trump administration ease crippling sanctions and pressure on their country.